Nava Labai Girivaris Aji Yashodanandana Bhagavana Hridana Yashodanandana Bhagavana Hridana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Radha Madhava Kunjavi Hari Jailalad Amadava Kunjavi Hari Jayati Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jayati Janavallabha Girivaradhari Ashodan Nana Bhajajan Kuradhandana Bhajajanarhandana Yamunatira Vanacharaji Yamunatira Vanacharaji Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Bhagavatam Sapurjapachaya Sharada Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padbraham Sapurjapachaya Sharada Sri Srimad. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7. Can anybody tell me what was read yesterday?
We covered text 25 yesterday, so today we could close out the chapter. Text 26 to 28, 29 to 30, and 31. And
Right.
if you're ambitious, we could begin chapter 13 with the summary, and then there's 4 verses without a purport. So the next verse with a purport is chapter 13, text 5.
So I think we'll stick with what it says, at least on the internal schedule here, which is today I'll finish up chapter 12, the Perfect Society for Spiritual Classes, and then tomorrow we'll start with 13. So I think we'll do it that way. So I'll read the Sanskrits for 26 through 31, and then do the word for word, etc. for 31. All right. Vachamagnou Savakatyam Indre Shilpam Karavapi Pradani Gatya Vayasi Ratyo Pashtam Prajapatau Mrityau Payum Visargam Cha Yatastanam Vinir Dikrutotram Sanam Dena Parshena Tvacham Rupani Chakshusha Pratishyabhini Veshayet Apsu Pracheta Sa Jivam Greye Grehanam Nishitao Nyaset Mano Manoratashchandre Buddhim Bodhyai Kavalpare Kamanyat Manarudre Yadaham Mamata Kriya Satvena Chitam Kshetra Guna Vikrakram Pare Apsu Kshitim Apojyostya Adovayao Nabhyasyamum Kutashte Tachchama Hati Tad Avyakte Share Chatat Ityaksharat Yamatmanam Kinmatram Avasheshatam Gatavadyato Taviramen Dagdayonir Ivanala Ityaksharatyatatmanam Chinmatram Avasheshitam Gyantavadyayottaviramen Dagdayonir Ivanala Ityaksharatyamaatmanam Inmatram Avasheshitam Gyantavadyottaviramen Dagdayonir Ivanala Iti thus Aksharatya because of being spiritual, Atmanam, oneself, the individual soul. Chit Matram, being completely spiritual. Uh, Avasheshatam, the remaining balance after the material elements are merged one after another into the original supersoul. Gyantva, understanding. Advaya, without differentiation. or of the same quality as the Paramatma. Ata, thus, Viramet, one should cease from material existence. Dagda Yoni, whose source, the wood, has been burnt up. Eva, like Anala, flames. Translations by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thereafter, the object of speech, along with the sense of speech, the tongue, should be bestowed upon fire. Craftsmanship and the two hands should be given to the demigod Indra. The power of movement and the legs should be given to Lord Vishnu. Sensual pleasure, along with the genitals, should be bestowed upon Prajapati. The rectum, with the power of evacuation, should be bestowed in its proper place onto Mrityu. The oral instruments, along with sound vibration, should be given to the deities presiding over the directions. The instrument of touch, along with the sense object of touch, should be given to Vayu. Form, with the power of sight, should be bestowed upon the sun. The tongue, along with the demigod Varuna, should be bestowed upon water, and the power of smell, along with the two Ashvini Kumar demigods, should be bestowed upon the earth. The mind, along with all material desires, should be merged in the moon demigod. All the subject matters of intelligence, along with the intelligence itself, should be placed in Lord Brahma. False ego, which is under the influence of the material modes of nature, which induces one to think, I am this body and everything connected to this body is mine, should be merged along with material activities in Rudra, the predominating deity of false ego. Material consciousness, along with the goal of thought, should be merged in the individual living being. And the demigods acting under the modes of material nature should be merged, along with the perverted living being, into the supreme being. The earth should be merged in water, water in the brightness of the sun, the brightness into the air into the sky into the false ego into the total material energy, the total material energy into the unmanifested ingredients, the pradhan feature of the material energy, and at last, the ingredient feature of material manifestation into the supersoul. When all the material designations have thus merged into their respective material elements, the living beings, who are all ultimately completely spiritual, being one in quality with the Supreme Being, should cease from material existence, as flames cease when the wood on which they are burning is consumed. When the material body is returned to its various material elements, only the spiritual being remains. This spiritual being is Brahman and is equal in quality with Para-Brahman. Om again. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Perfect Society for Spiritual Classes. Om Iganatamandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshumantamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are finishing up this chapter, which at the end is describing how Adira, after the discussion of the Vanaprastha ashram, uh, that at the end of life, one should give up one's bodily affinity and uh, there's this talk of uh, merging the various aspects of the body, of the senses, of material existence into the uh, various other realities. So, either the demigods or one Mahabhuta into the other, uh, etc. And it can be, I think sometimes devotees find these descriptions uh, sometimes confusing, right? Or it's not entirely sure what uh, the Bhagavatam is talking about. When, for example, it says that the instrument of touch, along with the sense objects of touch, should be given to Vayu. What, exactly does that mean? Do we take some velvet or felt and then do a yagya to Vayu and then give him it? Uh, Probably not. But I think what the idea is here is that if we look at the previous verses, that it is about giving up one's bodily affinity. Go back in text 24, uh, the word or the phrase used is sanyasyaham mamatmanam, giving up this false identity or false conception of one's body of being one's self or one's own. So, what the idea, I think, at least, uh, is that it is giving a um, means or a indicating a process of how to stop identifying with the material body. So we have to think ultimately what actually exists. In the West, we call this area of study ontology. What exists, what is fundamental, what is not fundamental, what is derived from other things. Because we take this material existence to be very important. We take it very seriously, or maybe even as, inevitable or fundamental. That, when things are affecting my material upadhis, my designations, then I get very concerned about those things. Oh, this person did not uh, speak kindly to me, and because they're in such and such a relationship with me, it is a very big deal. Or, my country is uh, performing this action or not performing this action or doing this thing, and therefore I will get upset or, I will be joyous. Oh, this course of action is good for my country, therefore it is good for me. It is good for my race or my religion, therefore it is good for me. So we have all of these material designations, and we take the material energy very seriously. Sense gratification, that is, forming activities in order to please the material elements onto which we have identified, is considered a very serious business, and is practically considered everywhere the goal of life. What comes to mind is that when some disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were sent to Britain in order to preach there, uh, Lord Zetland, who was previously actually a British administrator in Bengal, asked them if uh, they could make him into a brahmana. They said, yes, it's not so difficult. All you have to do is give up eating meat, fish, or eggs, give up gambling, give up all forms of intoxication, and give up illicit sex. Lord Zetlin famously replied, this is our very life here in Britain. We cannot give these things up. So we consider these things to be very serious, that our own sense gratification is the ultimate goal of reality of our lives. And actually, if you look at most of the philosophy of the world, including practically the entirety of Western philosophy, it is all just based on sense gratification. People act as if there are, huge differences and huge debates over, materialism versus idealism, communism versus capitalism, this epistemology over that epistemology, uh, this altruism versus egoism, all of these things. But it all actually just boils down to sense gratification, of identifying ourselves with the material energy. Because we have to actually understand what is actually existence. What is the ultimate existence? Fundamentally, all that exists is Krishna. Uh, that there's nothing that is separate from Krishna. But Krishna is co-eternal with his various energies. Uh, there's no time that the uh, various energies of the Supreme Lord did not exist. And these energies are in hmm, three categories. There's the internal energy, or spiritual energy, the external energy, or the material energy, and the marginal energy, which are the living entities. And the marginal energy can decide whether to engage with the spiritual energy or the material energy. When one is fully engaged in the spiritual energy, one is generally in the spiritual world. One does not come down to the uh, material platform. But when one wishes to enjoy separately from Krishna, one is placed into material nature. And while we are here, we take a little patch of Prakriti, of the material energy, and we say, this is me. I have a certain combination of the material energy that I'm currently thinking is my body, is my mind, is my intelligence. And this false identification, uh, this thinking that we are identical to the little patch of Pradhan that we have uh, claimed as ourselves, is a hankara, is false ego, literally the I maker. Uh, and then we start to consider that things that happen to this little portion of material energy that we have identified with is actually happening to us. Things that are related to it are related to us. Because actually, the spirit soul is always pure. Nothing can actually touch the spirit soul. Uh, it is always Satchitananda, because it does have the same nature as Krishna, although different in quantity. Uh, Krishna, of course, is the supreme soul and is infinite, while we are the subordinate soul. We are finite. But we identify with this little portion of material energy. And therefore, we think that whatever is happening to this material energy is happening to the spirit soul directly, even though factually there is no connection. The example is given earlier in the Bhagavatam about the reflection of the moon in a bucket of water. So if you have a bucket of water, then the moon is reflected in it. And if I stomp on the ground or knock on the side of the bucket or something like that, or throw a stone in, waves form on the surface of the water. But that does not have anything to do with the actual moon. Uh, all that is actually being affected is the water itself. Likewise, in the complexities of material existence, what is actually being affected is the material energy, but not the spirit soul itself. Just as if one thinks that when one throws a pebble into a bucket of water, one is hitting the moon due to hitting its reflection. One is an illusion. Likewise, if one thinks that when somebody attacks the material body or helps the material body or interacts in any way with the material body, one is actually hitting or interacting with the spirit soul, is also an illusion. And as one prepares to give up one's body, one should give up this illusion. Actually, one should give up this illusion at every stage of life, because one does not know when he will die. Uh, it could be very soon for any of us, even those of us who are relatively young. People die young all the time. So we should identify ourselves not with the material energy, but with the spiritual energy. So we can think that, uh, the various demigods, for example, are uh, controllers of the various senses and sense objects. So I am not the controller of the sense objects and the senses. Uh, so for example, when it says that the instruments of touch, along with the sense objects of touch, should be given to Vayu, I can think that actually Vayu, at least at one level, is the one controlling the sense objects of touch, not me. Because when I want to enjoy those sense objects, I'm thinking I'm the controller and I'm the enjoyer. But if I'm thinking that, there's a demigod in charge of them, that means that I'm not in charge of them. Therefore, I can give them up. Uh, and even, the touch instrument itself, I'm not in charge of it. Therefore, I can give it up. Uh, the earth is actually nothing but a transformation of water. This is not the modern Western conception. If one gets into the physics and geology and all of that, but in the Sankhya system, as explained elaborately in the third canto uh, by Lord Kapila, the Mahabhutas are just transformations of one another. So that the earth is just transformation of water. Water is just a transformation of fire. Fire is just a transformation of air. Air of the Akash. And of course, the Akash of false ego. So ultimately, everything is in one sense a transformation of the false ego. Because the only way that it's interacting with us at all is mediated through the um, relationship that we have of identifying with the material energy, which is called false ego. And as explained in the last verse of this chapter, once one merges all of the material designations into the various elements, then one is left with the spiritual reality, which is our actual constitutional position. And Prabhupada, in translating this last verse, is very clear to explain that this is not an impersonal spiritual situation. Because if one looks just in the Sanskrit, one could misinterpret it as a impersonal merging. That, oh, I'll give up all material designations and then I'll just merge into the oneness of Brahman. But this is not actually the case. It's understood through the entire corpus of Vedic literature that this giving up of material designations should be uh, done in tandem with the taking on or the remembrance of spiritual designations. That is the giving up of false ego for true ego or real ego, which is missing from the Mayavad conception of liberation. Because in the Mayavad conception, there is no identity at all. That when one leaves the material world, uh, one, and it's actually difficult. The philosophy of Mayavad is so convoluted that it's actually difficult to precisely say what exactly happens. Because according to them, one doesn't go back into Brahman because one always was Brahman. One doesn't realize Brahman because there's no you to realize the Brahman. What can you even say about Mayavad? Uh, and, they actually say themselves, oh, words are inadequate to explain the transcendence and the true nature of the impersonal Brahman and, the way that the false individuality relates with the impersonal Brahman. Of course, we say that if words are inadequate to explain your philosophy, then you should just stop speaking your philosophy and it'll be better for everyone. But the Mayavadis keep speaking. So Prabhupada and those following Srila Prabhupada and all the Vaishnavacharyas defeat the Mayavad philosophy. Uh, because what this process is meant for is to revive our spiritual understanding as a spirit soul. Of course, as in the last class that Gurudev was giving while he was here, he was discussing that actually the material energy and the spiritual energy, Krishna can use either one for his purposes, which is enjoyment. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and to him, he can enjoy the spiritual energy, he can enjoy the material energy, he can enjoy the marginal energy. But he asks us to distinguish between the spiritual energy and the material energy, uh, which we do. Uh, Although also at the highest levels, at the Uttama Adhikari level, one may act uh, as if, um, one may act seeing everything uh, as the energy of the Lord. One sees all beings, all living entities, as the as eternal servants of the Lord. One sees, the various manifestations of the material energy as just different aspects or different emanations from Krishna. That's the Uttamadhikari platform. But we, even Uttamadhikaris, many times come down to the Madhyama Adhikari platform in order to preach, in order to revive the understanding of Krishna consciousness in the other living entities. And thus we see a difference between the spiritual and the material energies. So we should understand, we should actually study, these verses, the Sankhya philosophy as given by Lord Kapila, to understand actually what is going on in material existence. Uh, we have all of our ins and outs, we have all of our complications uh, with our various activities that we want to do, that we don't want to do, that we don't want to do but are forced to do, that we are in anxiety about, all of these things. But actually, the entirety of material existence boils down to uh, one relationship, that I am a spirit soul. There's a little patch of the material energy that I think of as myself, and that relationship is false ego. So that when things happen to that part of the material energy, I think they're happening to me. That is the sum and substance of material existence. And the point is to get out. We have been given a very nice process uh, of Krishna consciousness. In this age of Kali Yuga, it is a very easy process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and thoroughly explained by Srila Prabhupada, of how actually to stop identifying with our particular patch of the material energy and to start identifying again as the servant of Krishna. And when we are perfected in that understanding, when we are pure in that understanding, then we can return to the spiritual world and participate eternally in that true relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as part of this process, uh, when one is, because these verses are spoken in the context of the Vanaprastha ashram, that when one is scientifically studying these designations and how they relate or don't relate to the spirit soul, when one understands or starts to understand these, one should start to renounce. Even for those who are, engaged in various activities of society, family, etc. It is not that one performs those activities forever. There's the vanaprasth, and then eventually, for some, the sannyas ashram. That when one is starting to realize by study and sometimes by experience as well that this material energy is not actually me, then one can start to give up one's various social engagements, one's various activities that are sometimes pulling one away from uh, this sort of consciousness, and then focus solely or primarily and then eventually solely on the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, uh, which is emblemized in the sannyas or avaduta stages. Even if one does not end up externally taking those modes of life, one can practice those mentalities, as we will read about in the next chapter, starting tomorrow. So I will end here. We have about 15 minutes left, in case there are any comments or questions. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you for a nice class. You touched on everything.
Thank you.
I I was a little curious to see how you would treat this. It's difficult subject matter,
Mm,
or for some of us anyway. For me, um, yeah, I've been thinking about this for a few days, and in my mind, um, I associate these types of instructions with the process of Sankhya,
mm,
um, which is an analytical study of um, everything really, the material nature, the spiritual nature, whatever is there, um, and my own realization of that process. I actually have a little experience early in my spiritual life. I was following a process of meditation that was essentially the neti neti kind of approach that you observe everything um, from the innermost um, vantage point, and by observation, you perceive that the object of your perception is separate from you. You are the seer, and what is seen is different from you. Or at least that's the effort to try to disentangle yourself from the network of the senses by gradually understanding how your actual identity is separate from uh, what is perceived through your various senses, including the mind.
Mhm.
So the process is not this, not this, not this, whatever I'm perceiving, I'm not those things. Um, and by doing that, gradually you separate yourself from all of the entanglement. You begin to perceive yourself as independent of that. And so when I hear these instructions about um, giving the various senses and their objects to this deity or that deity or whatever, various demigods, the controlling deity of this or that element. It to me it appears to be the same process of
Mhm.
uh, separating oneself, extricating oneself from the entanglement and but in this case it's actually a process of complete separation. What is this discussion began with the description of the duties of the Vanaprastha ashram, and that when one comes to the stage of life at which it is no longer possible to carry on one's duties, then it becomes appropriate to give up your life. You and so this process is prescribed how to how to leave your body in Krishna consciousness by extricating yourself from the involvement in all these different elements. So it's it's one prescription, and there are others. Um, Another approach, for example, is rather than trying to understand what you're not, just simply absorbing yourself in what you are,
Mhm.
which is um, Nitya Krishna Das, always engaged in Krishna's service by absorbing oneself completely in thought of Krishna exclusively. That's also prescribed as a very ideal frame of mind for leaving one's body, quitting one's body.
Mhm.
So there are various prescriptions that are given, but there is not a prescription for trying to endlessly perpetuate one's life, even when it becomes nearly impossible, struggling and fighting, hope against hope, tooth and nail to preserve your material identity, uh, your possessions, including your bodily identity, gross and subtle. Trying to maintain that endlessly is not prescribed. What is prescribed is understanding that it's temporary, and at some point you have to give it up. And there are particular times when clearly um, it is time to do precisely that.
Mhm.
Um, and then so there are various ways to do that neatly. So this is all about the final stage, trying to get out in a clean, neat manner, so that you don't inadvertently perpetuate samsara. I mean to say not samskar, but samsara, um, the cycle of birth and death. You don't want to breathe uh, life into it.
Mhm.
You want to exhaust samsara completely, um, so you don't invest yourself in it in any way that will give it fresh energy. You want to eliminate all reactions. You cease to react with it. Uh, and which is another prescription. Um, there's many different angles of vision. There's different ways to see and understand the same problem. And Srimad Bhagavatam touches on a great many of them. And we'll hear of others. But anyway, I want to thank you for your class. You covered everything that I could think of, and then some. You gave me lots to think about. Um, I don't I imagine for others these topics may seem I don't know, maybe a little abstract or hard to relate to directly. For myself, I can say that it kind of hits home because I've had a point at which um, I can leave my body at any time, and it's also become extremely difficult for me to do anything. Um, Life has become a struggle, so it's clearly time for me to relinquish whatever attachments remain and um, to endeavor with earnest to disentangle myself and absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. So instructions about the final stage of life have become particularly pertinent for me.
Yeah.
For others, you may feel like it's abstract, and you really shouldn't, because as you pointed out, um, you know, we're all candidates for leaving our bodies, and it can happen at any time. It happens all the time. We see everywhere around us, people are leaving their body at all ages. You don't have to be old to leave your body. If you live long enough, it's sure and certain that you will leave your body. But leaving your body is sure and certain in any case. It will happen later or it will happen soon, and we can't say. But um, if we're intelligent, we will take advantage of the opportunity to give direction to our next destination. It can be better or it can be worse.
Yeah.
Um, we don't want it to be worse, but it can easily be worse. It can be much worse. Um, the time of death is an opportunity. There's different ways to look at everything, I suppose. One could be optimistic even about death, but the truth is, um, as tragic as death may be from one perspective, it's an opportunity. It's a really important opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, it's an opportunity that, as Vaishnavas, we wait our whole life for this tremendous opportunity, big opportunity to affect a final solution to the problems of life. Um, we can try to do that throughout the course of our life. It may be quite difficult, and we may fail. But at the time of death, there is an opportunity that is, one could argue, easier. That simply, if you can think of Krishna at the time of death, you can actually go back home, the topmost destination, um, or you could progress in stages. You could accept another birth and make some incremental advance towards Krishna. That may happen if you are not able to perfectly fix your mind on Krishna, or if you retain some material desire. But as I say, it's an opportunity, and one could say it's a rare opportunity because you only die once in your lifetime. Um, so it's rare within the scope of a lifetime. And you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. So it behooves one to be well prepared in advance so that you know you don't get caught unprepared. Most living entities are not prepared, and within the material nature, at least, the living entities within the scope of material nature, the vast majority of all of them die like animals. They have no idea where they're going next, and they can wind up anywhere, and they typically do. Those who are fortunate and are intelligent have the opportunity to improve the quality of their life, at least, or better than that, get out of the situation altogether. That's the best thing. So somehow or other, we want to remember Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement is all about creating circumstances that facilitate remembrance of Krishna, thinking of Krishna, filling our consciousness with Krishna so that at the time of death, in whatever condition we may be, we will naturally think of Krishna. Or it will be easier to think of Krishna if it doesn't come naturally. Um, it's difficult at the time of death to exercise control over your thoughts. Everything is a turbulent mess, typically. You leave your body because everything is breaking down and everything is going wrong, and your body is no longer a hospitable place. Um, you don't leave your body because everything is okay. You leave your body because everything has gone wrong. Um, so all of your faculties, including your cognitive functions, are not in good working order. The circumstances are very difficult. So we have to practice for that time. We have to, we want to be able to be Krishna conscious even at the most trying stage when conditions are most difficult. Um, Time of death is the most difficult time, but tremendous opportunity. We're out of time. Um, if I can consume all the time at the end of the class, I consider it to be a success. All right. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks again.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, so the door should be opening any minute. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Gora Sundar Nitai Gora Sundar Gora Hari. Jaya Nitai Gora Sundar Nitai Gora Sundar Gora Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya 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 Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Krishna Bhakti Shri Guru Charanurati Ete Uttanam Gati Shri Guru Charanurati Gati Ete Uttanam Gati Ete Guru Charanam Ekatpari Kirube Asharam They're saying there's no, but only looking at next year. This was, but how happened when the fact. So, the other one, the other one, even when, the news that, the way this, Parker, you remember the way to the parents stage of the values is in the